Hey, this is Carolyn Burnett with the Sound of Lexington and BareFoot Kentucky TV. We've got with us Taylor Hughes with me today, and our special guest of the day is Michael Johnathon. Hey, Michael, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for inviting me. This is a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We really just listened to him record 4 awesome songs, and I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed by that. I wanted to say you had you sang a song for us called "Don't Point Your Gun."
Yeah, gun. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like the line in there where you said, "This ain't the peace that causes peace."
Well, there's such an argument going on in America more so than the rest of the world, and I wanted to write a song that sort of captured the real issue. Then the issue is not whether or not you have a gun. The issue is don't point it at me. Do what you want, just don't point it at me. And that's what that song is about.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome song. I like the way you put the message out there. You also did a song for us called Indian Dream.
Yeah.
And you wrote that about Standing Rock?
I wrote it before Standing Rock because I've always had a big interest in what was happening to the Native American community. I mean, we sort of came in and invaded their community, and they've managed over 400 years to maintain the illusion that they still have this community, even though it continues to be taken from them bit by bit. Oddly enough, I married Melissa, who's part Cherokee, and I notice that part of her whenever she gets mad.
Oh yeah,
but it's a joke.
Scalp
Very
time.
sweet, right? But no, she's part Cherokee, and when the Standing Rock thing came around, I resurrected Indian Dream, and I've started performing it, and I just did it on Wood Songs with Fred Keems, who's a Native American here in Lexington that plays the Indian flute. And so that gave the song validation. He just came back from Standing Rock, and we stood on stage in front of 500 people and played that song.
Wow.
That meant a lot to me as a songwriter.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. You're involved in so many things. I feel like you're about the only person I've met so far that can kind of understand me, but you're even more involved in things than I am. I mean, you've just got a huge list of stuff about you on the internet. I mean, it's like your life is like totally open, pretty much.
That's shocking.
You did a couple other songs for us, Front Porch Around the World. You said everybody needs to slow down and drink some lemonade, or you said serve lemonade instead of hell. And the leaders need to sit on some rocking chairs around the world.
Well, I was looking at the idea of the front porch 3 ways. There's the literal front porch that you have on your house. They don't even build front porches on homes anymore. These used to be the grand pulpits of America. Every community, people would sit on the front porch and get to know their neighbors, sing together and play music. It was sort of the grand gathering place. Then TV and air conditioning came along. Everybody went inside. But now you go to a development for over the last 40, 50 years, they don't build front porches on homes anymore. The grand feng shui welcoming image to your neighbors is your garage door. The thing you leave by is what welcomes your guests.
Yeah.
And that is a sort of a statement on the American attitude now towards hometowns and communities and neighbors. We're very transient people. So the first verse of the song talks about the literal front porch. The second verse of the song is about the emotional front porch, when you find the love of your life. And then I want to expand it a little bit. We need a front porch around the world now. I wrote that on my banjo. We need a front porch around the world between nations. We have got to slow things down. We're capable of too much damage. And it's that front porch-minded person that I think is going to help save the human race as we go forward.
That's very well thought out. I'm actually, really, honestly, after the more that I've read about you and listening to your lyrics and things like that, my respect level for you even bumped up even higher than it was before.
Well, you're very kind.
Thank you. I really am. pretty much impressed by your whole life because you're just out there, you're doing everything, and you're being involved with so much community, so many different things, and helping the music community as well. And that's
what you're
really
doing.
great.
That's what this whole project is. That's why I wanted to be here to support it, because what you're doing is something that I personally believe in. So
thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm really glad that you decided to agree to come. And I think that you also probably understand me because when you very first started Wood Songs, like, you've got over 800 shows now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last time I looked, it was like 869 that's online right now. And that is a huge feat. But in the beginning, what was it like for you in the beginning?
When I started Wood Songs?
Uh-huh.
I started Wood Songs in a little studio behind Flag Fork Farm off of Broadway here in Lexington. It was smaller than this room, and we could barely sit a dozen people in there. We had one radio station willing to air the show, and we used to give them the show on a cassette tape. They'd have to turn the cassette tape over halfway through. And I was committed, wherever I was performing in America on a Sunday, I'd be back in Lexington on Monday to do this thing. I've never missed doing that.
Wow.
And but we just kept at it, and now it's on over 500 radio stations. It's on American Forces Radio Network around the world in 173 countries. It's a 5-camera PBS production, and it's airing in about 96 million homes across the United States.
Yeah.
And so there's a big audience now, and now we're in the Lyric Theater, which is about 500 seats, and it virtually fills up every Monday night. So, you know, the community's been really supportive of letting Wood Songs happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all volunteer run. I mean, that's a statement to the community.
It is, but it's also a statement to you. I mean, it takes somebody with the right personality and the ability to go out and get the people together to actually, you know, do this and make it happen. And, you know, you've done it. You're doing it, and it's a pretty awesome feat. I think so.
Well, you had to be willing to absorb the misunderstanding between the home community and the acceptance of the national community. Can I explain that?
Yes, please.
For Wood Songs to exist, there was no business model for it. It had to be volunteer run, which makes it different from the Grand Ole Opry or Mountain Stage or E-Town or Austin City Limits. And somebody had to be claiming it in order for others to feel comfortable to volunteer for it, which is why my name is on the show. I was like, I'm going to be responsible for this. I'm going to be the one liable for whether it's good or bad. I'm the one that's going to take the blame if it falters. And so that relaxes people to be willing to participate. So Mountain Stage, there's no person behind it. Austin City Limits, there's no person behind it. Wood Songs is the only broadcast that has a identifying individual, but that's because it's volunteer run. Nobody's getting paid a nickel. So in the home community, they think, well, you're self-promoting or you're doing this or whatever. But on the national level, the show exploded because we succeeded in making a national show on the only business model possible, which was volunteer run.
Wow.
And that was all part of the mechanics of thinking on a national level versus just a small hometown thing. Because if it was just small hometown, I wouldn't put my name on it.
Even so, it takes a lot to, I mean, even from my own experience, to get people, you know, rallied up and then actually get them to show up. And, you know, they really have to believe in what you're doing, and they really do believe in it. It shows.
We have over 30 crew members. We've never not had a crew. We've had thousands of artists. The artists are not paid a penny. They're not given travel money. Local hotels put them up for free. Local restaurants feed them for free when they come to Lexington to be on the show. But we have never, ever had an artist not show up, even though there's no financial transactions going on.
That's great. Which
proves my point that in the arts, especially more so than any other venture, love is the greatest transaction. Passion transcends payment. Not that you don't want to get paid or you don't want to, pay your bills with what you do for a living, but the core of it has to be love. Nobody ever bought an album in the history of music because it said RCA Records. They bought it because they loved Elvis. They could care less what the label was. They couldn't care if he was selling it out of the back of his station wagon. Love has made it happen. The only reason people will flock and do Garth Brooks concerts because they love Garth. It's not because of marketing. It's not because of a record company. It's not because of the manager. It's love that makes that work. And Wood Songs is based on the love transaction completely, more so than anything else, because there's no finances going on.
I think that pretty much leads into something you were going to ask him about.
It definitely was. You said love is like the transaction, and I was reading your 26 commandments for musicians, which is actually one of the commandments. What I wanted to know was how you came up with those, and like when did you decide to make those commandments? And do you tell people about those, or are they just kind of your own commandments, and that's just how you live your life, and that's how you play music, or do you think it's definitely something that other artists can like get something from?
Well, I wrote that because I got up really early and I was bored.
Don't we all do something?
And I was like, what am I going to do? So I don't sit still very well. But what those 26 things are is a recognition, something that other artists have not really come to grips with. We are seeing a volcanic change in the world of music and art. There's no record stores. There's not a single record store chain left in America. Nobody knew 5 years ago that the biggest retailer of CDs in the United States was going to be a restaurant, Cracker Barrel. Outsells Best Buy and Walmart.
Wow.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and new cars. If you look at a new car, they're being produced with no CD players in them. New computers do not have a CD slot in them. It's becoming harder and harder for artists to make a livelihood with this art thing that's an important part of their life. And so my 26 commandments that you read is simply a guideline of all these changes in the music business and how are artists supposed to be viewing things. Love your audience. They're not wallets, they're hearts. But if they love you, they're going to do what an audience always does. They're going to buy your stuff. But you have to get that love thing. You have to do things out of love first. You can't do anything for the money.
Right.
Nothing. And that's the point of the 26 issues.
Well, I thought it was really cool. I actually took some notes and marked which ones I thought were like the most interesting. And one I really liked was invest in yourself or no one else will.
It's true.
I think that is very true.
Well, it's, and it's also the one that I really appreciated that I've learned the hard way as a young person coming through music and stuff is if you haven't developed an audience, don't complain that you're not getting paid. If there's no audience, there's no way to pay an artist. So if you have not gone through what you've needed to go through to develop an audience, don't complain about that part. You have to continue to do your work out of love. And if you do that and the audience finds you and they respect you, then you'll eventually make a living at it. But it has to start with love and it has to stay that way.
That is great. So what would your advice be then for someone who's just starting out and how to develop their audience?
Do good work. Don't suck.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, right?
That's you know, we were talking about wood songs before. That's our war cry before we go out on stage.
Really?
I told that to Judy Collins. Don't suck. You know.
Okay.
It said to Chris Thiele or Bela Fleck. You know, here we go. Don't suck. That's our war cry. And the point is too is the good work part. You can be more effective in your home community as an artist than if you try to propel yourself on a national level and become just a blip in the ether. Whereas if you focus on where your audience really is, and for most artists is their hometown, do good work. Are you going to burn wards in children's hospitals and donating 4 or 5 songs? You know, are you going to local schools to show them what a banjo is and stuff and doing it as a gift to the schools? If you do good work, that's how you find your audience. It's not sitting in a club with 3 people in it that are getting drunk trying to screw each other, ignoring you on stage. That's not the good work of an artist.
That's so very true. That's really true. And speaking of doing good work, don't you have something going on with kids out at the horse park, or are you teaching kids?
No, we have, I think what you're thinking of is we have a segment on Wood Songs called Wood Songs Kids.
Okay.
And on every broadcast, we invite a kid from somewhere in the nation to come on the broadcast, and they get to sing one song. They're not judged. They don't win anything, but they're treated as equals with the Mavericks or Bela Fleck or, you know, whoever, you know, Eric Johnson was just on. We just had a wonderful guitar player come all the way in from Austin, Texas. And she did one song on the show, and she got to do it as an equal to Eric Johnson. The reason we're doing that is because we've opened up a huge education program with Wood Songs in the school systems. We have a team of teachers that volunteer to write lesson plans to select broadcasts. Middle, high, and college level lesson plans. And we make this available free to any school or homeschool family. If you want to introduce your kids to traditional American jazz, we've got Preservation Hall Jazz Band. You want to introduce them to the banjo, we've got Bela Fleck and Abigail Washburn. You know, you want to introduce them to the guitar, we've got Tommy Emmanuel, we've got Eric Johnson, we've got all these great guitar. And so they take a Wood Songs broadcast, cut it in half to 2 school segments, classroom segments, and the teachers have these ready-made, well-written lesson plans to use in their schools, especially where music and arts are being decimated and cut out of budgets.
Yeah.
So there are thousands of schools and homeschool families right now using Wood Songs as music teaching.
That is really, really
So
great.
I think that's what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I knew that there was something with the kids. Well, you know, besides being an awesome songwriter and singer, you also are a playwright. You've written a lot of plays.
Well, I've written one that worked.
Well, only one that worked. Okay. So, the Walden play?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so, but what about the Woody Guthrie opera?
Well, that's an opera.
Okay.
That's different from a play.
Oh
So,
my God. Yes.
the Walden play, I saw a play. I'd never seen a play before, and I was
Okay.
like, how hard can it be to write a play? I want to write a play. So I wrote one about Henry David Thoreau. He was in this cabin on at Walden Pond. He was there for 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days trying to write a book in honor of his deceased brother John. And he had writer's block. He couldn't write it. And so when he was done, all he had were these 7 journals of notes about birds and bees and twigs and ponds and, you know, stuff, firewood. And that became, later on, the book Walden. But when he was there, he had no idea what he had, or he thought he failed. And I thought it would be very dramatic to write a play about the final 2 days. He was in his cabin before leaving Walden Pond. He was about to change the world of American literature. He was about to become the forefather of the global green movement, but at the moment, he thought he failed. And I thought, now that'd be an interesting play. And so I wrote the script between him and a storyline between him and Ralph Waldo Emerson. We put it on a website, and I thought, you know, boy, if a dozen community theaters perform this thing. That's a home run. And to date, we've had 8,900 registered performances. Anyway, if you want to know more about the Walden Play, they can go to waldenplay.com. If you're a school or a college or a community theater, you can get the script absolutely free. Just register, and it's all the materials are right there for free.
That's really, really great. And there's a ton of stuff on the internet about Michael, things that he's done, that you've created, and he's got a lot of CDs for sale. You've got a new one coming out in January.
Well, the one that just got released has a 61-piece symphony orchestra on it.
Is that The Dream?
The Dream, yeah.
This is fantastic. You should really, really check that out. And
then Homestead
buy
gets
it.
re-released in January.
It's going
And
to
then
be really great.
the opera, you mentioned the opera, it's being re-released as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
There really is. I don't know how you keep up with it.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how I keep up with my own life, but thinking about everything that you do makes me feel like, wow, you're an inspiration for me.
wow.
I really want to thank you for coming.
No, thank you for
today.
having me. Thank you very much. I mean, this is very
Like,
nice.
sit in with
It's
guys.
nice that you're supporting independent artists. They need the support that you give them. The fact that you're making this effort, I think, is worthy of respect and applause. And I certainly hope this is very successful for you. There are so few avenues for artists to reach an audience now, and that's what you're helping them do. So on behalf of all of them, thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
It was fun.
All right. Thank you.
Good deal. I got to Obama bump you.
Don't point your gun. Don't point your gun. 'Cause that ain't the peace that causes peace. Don't point your guns. Don't you aim at me.